Hello everybody, it's Claire back with another project for the Scrap FX design team. So today I'm going to be working on a set of ATC's artist trading cards, starting off by adding some gesso to an A4 piece of white cardstock. This is just to prepare it for what I'm going to do. Then I'm just adding a thin layer of gel medium, and I'm using the dots and lines rice paper from Scrap FX and also the fountain pen rice paper as well, just to add some interest to the background before I start adding some colour. So once that was dry, I decided I was going to keep a fairly neutral palette, so I started off with Umber Dina Wakley paint and just watered it down a little bit, and also I used some mineral. It's quite a nice subtle start, unlike me. Then I'm using the Circles in Circle stencil, and again I'm using the Umber paint and a sponge, a makeup sponge, and I'm just adding some stenciling to the background. Then I'm using the leafy seaweed stencil and the mineral. I'm just adding a little bit more detail using this stencil. These are two of my favourites at the minute. I really love the patterns that they leave behind. So then I used the 9 dots stamp and a bit of black archival ink and just loosely stamping that onto the background as well. Next I used the number collage stamp and added some of that to the background too. Didn't want it to be too dark. So then I decided that I just wanted to push the background away a little bit, so use a bit of white gesso and a little brayer and just brayed some of that on. So then it was time to measure out the ATC size. You can see that's 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So I measured those out and then cut them out ready for the next stage. So I was going to be using the School Days collage paper for this project, and I've already added some gesso to the back of it just to make it a little bit more opaque and make the images stand out. The lighting isn't particularly brilliant on this. I don't know why. The colours have gone a bit grey. They weren't actually this grey. But I actually quite like how subtle the background is. So then I started adding the pictures from that rice paper and just playing with where I was going to put them. I decided I was going to back them onto some black just to give them a tiny little border, just to help them stand out a little bit more, because I didn't want them to disappear too much into the background. Then I started adding some collage elements behind them, so a little bit of dotty tissue paper and some book text paper as well. And I did this to a few of the ATCs. So I decided that I would just concentrate on 4 and save the other 4 pieces for another time. So then I'm just searching through my stamp collection. it's not a very good stamp collection, it's just ones that have been salvaged from envelopes. Found a couple of stamps that I liked, and another actual stamp from a stamp set by Dina Wakley and one from Carabel Studio, just to add some more details onto the ATCs. Then it was time to just doodle some botanical things onto the ATC, so some sort of ideas of plants really. And then I was going to also use a Signo Uniball in white just to add some more details onto these once they were dry. There's something very satisfying about working this small. It's something, it comes together very quickly, and it's quite a nice finished product when it's done. Working small can be very satisfying. So now I'm just adding some mark making onto these ATCs. So I'm doing lines and dots, and it just helps to break up the background and add a little bit more interest to the project. So these are the black and white tabs by Scrap FX, and I decided, I don't know, those of you who are into ATCs and like to do it properly are going to cringe, but I wanted to add some tabs to the ATCs, so I sewed those on using my sewing machine, and then I'm just using the art phrases rice paper and just selecting some words from there just to use on the ATCs as well, to go with the images. And once I've cut these out, I'm going to stick them in place using a glue stick. So once these were stuck in place, I then used some gold ink and just added some splatters, trying not to get the splatters on the faces too much, just to add a little pop of colour to the ATCs. So I hope you've enjoyed this project, and maybe you'll have a go at creating some ATCs of your own using some of the wonderful Scrap FX products. Thank you for watching.